Now, stay tuned, everybody. We will be back very shortly with the arts program. And that's the lovely Amy Brule with C'est Magnifique. What a lovely start to the arts program this Wednesday evening. You're listening to Pauline O'Shaughnessy Dowling. I'm otherwise known as Pod. And joining me back in the studio tonight, of course, is Lynden.
Hello there.
Yeah, welcome back from your week away.
Thank you, Pod.
It's good to have you back. Now, we've got the reason Lynden is sounding a little bit remote there is because we do have a really full studio. We're lucky enough again tonight to have some of the performers from Ballarat, the Ballarat Centre of Music and the Arts. And we're very thankful to Paula Heenan, who stays in close contact with us and keeps us informed of what's coming up at BCMA. And tonight in the studio we have Alarin, welcome, and Mika and Alana and Ella. I'm pretty sure I got all of those names right. You've very cleverly stayed in order. You're very smart people, so that I get all of that right. So welcome to the studio. It's great to have you back again, and you're going to tell us all about your next production, which is called Dust and Ruin. And one of the things I'm really excited about this production is that it's actually been written and brought together by the playwright and performance group from the school. So it's a completely original play.
Yes.
All new, all written by you. The ideas come from you. And I'm sure with a bit of guidance from your teachers, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Now, tell us a little bit about the theme of this. Do we call it a play or a performance?
A play.
A play. Let's call it a play. I want to get the terminology right. So, who's going to tell us a little bit about the theme of this play?
Go for it, Ella.
Oh, well, basically it's about global warming.
Come a little closer, Ella.
It's about global warming and about the war and how it may affect some people in some circumstances. So we really wanted to go around that theme and kind of, I guess, put some of our personal experiences into the show.
Yeah. So global warming and war, they're massive themes, aren't they?
Huge.
So these are topics that have been at the forefront of your minds that you wanted to explore some themes about. Yeah, lots of nodding heads there. So how long did it take you to come up? Was there a lot of discussion in the school about what form this play would take, like the different themes? Did that take long to come to an agreement on?
I think mainly it was our director, Alex. She kind of had this idea of what she wanted, and she talked to Paula, and Paula's like, yeah, that's really good, this could work. So then we did auditions, and who got in, we all had a discussion of what themes we wanted to talk about and what issues we wanted to discuss, and we kind of just built off each other's ideas and just worked together as a team to try and create the show.
Fantastic. And Alana, do you have to do a lot of research for something like this? Like, do you have to hit the books or the internet and like really research?
Well, there wasn't actually too much of that. I think, with what's going on now, I mean, it's set in 10 years' time, so it's like end of the world scenario. And I mean, with the way our world is kind of going at the moment, it's a bit scary. Who knows? We could be predicting the future here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you're talking, Mika and Alarin, this is about 2029 in 10 years' time. What's it like coming up with an idea about what the world's going to be like in 10 years' time?
Well, it's quite possible that it could be where we're at, because we're basically stuck in a bunker, and outside is really scary, and there's wars going on everywhere, and there's natural disasters happening every week.
Okay, so the performers in the play, a lot of it's set. You're all actually in a bunker.
Yes.
So you can see what's going on in the world around you.
No, because they're in the bunker.
Yeah,
We have
but
no contact to the outside world.
So you know something's going on out there, but you're not quite sure what. And what sort of foodstuffs and things have you had to bring into the bunker with you?
So basically, our parents decided to build the bunker together because they came like close friends. So they've been building the bunker for like a few years now, and we always, like, our characters would stay there during the summer, and basically they've just brought in food and, like, tried to add more things over the summer. So there's, like, a lot of canned food, I reckon, and
A
just
lot of
long
stuff that can last a long time.
And what was the event that sent? So did you want to ask that?
question.
You go for it. You ask it,
I
Lynden.
just wondered if all of you in the cast decided to go and stay, like lock yourselves in a room or something for a weekend so that you could really experience what it was like with the canned food or whatever. You didn't do that.
It definitely would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
So how many people are in this bunker during the play?
Oh, wow.
It varies, doesn't
About 15.
Okay.
We've also got classes, so some younger students coming in and they get involved in the show too. But yeah, the main cast is made up with about 15, so you'll get to know those characters really well if you come along. We've got some very strong personalities in the bunker. Not everyone gets along, but you know, that's just the fun of it.
So how did like in a drama production, in a play, there's a script with individual characters.
Yeah.
So I would think that group writing a script like that would be very difficult. So did you break up into little groups or different individuals had...
So
tell us.
we weren't given our characters until after the script had been finished writing.
Okay.
And basically we were each given individual scenes to do, and based on what the whole group had said, like what kind of needs to be conveyed in that scene, and then somebody else would get the scene that you've written and edited it.
That's a good idea.
So everyone got to use a wide variety of skills on making this play happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds fantastic. Did you want to say something? Are you about to tell us something exciting about the play? I really like the sound of this. I really like those movies and plays where you have that group of people that are all they're brought together, and you have to have conversations and you have to try and get on, and often you don't get on, and there are all sorts of. Are we going to see all sorts of different conflicts?
There's lots
You
of
are.
that. Yeah.
One in particular.
And the story is not just about what's going on in the outside world, but how we as a community, I suppose, cope with learning to get on and working through difficult times, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is it optimistic in the end?
Or they might not. Well, they might not want to tell us.
Come see the show and you'll find out.
It's up to the audiences.
No, just
okay.
Partly why I'm asking that is I'm wondering if people your age are optimistic and hopeful, or if more of you are really pessimistic and doom, gloom. What was the discussion? Maybe don't tell us so much about this particular play amongst you all.
Yeah, basically we all got together and we're like, okay, so here are our ideas. You can have plan A, plan B, plan C for the ending. And we all kind of talked about it and discussed about the outcomes, and then we're like, okay, we all want plan A, so that's what we're going to do, and I think that's what we've all ended up with.
Yeah.
But it was more like plan A with a bit of plan B added in.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was it like coming up? I mean, how long does this play go for? Is it like an hour and a half?
No longer than your typical show.
So about an hour-ish? Tell us.
An hour to 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of dialogue, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how long have you been writing this?
A semester.
6 months.
Yeah. And has there been a lot of toing and froing with that, getting that dialogue right? Like that's that's a big job, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Even when we started to rehearse and we finished the script and we were all happy, even when we were all learning the scenes as our characters, we would all be like, that doesn't sound right. And then we would have to change that just so it could go in with the flow of the show.
Yeah, certain scenes might sound really strong, but they might not flow with what the intentions another writer was trying to convey in another scene. So it was about getting it consistent throughout the whole show, and I think we've managed to do that now.
That's an interesting point.
Another skill, isn't it, is being able to receive feedback from your peers, and to be constructive about that instead of, that was just stupid. doesn't work. You know, you might offend someone. You don't really get anywhere with that sort of feedback. So did you feel like you learnt a lot from that process?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it helped us all bond as a cast.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because you're not just learning how to act and sing and dance and write, but you're learning kind of all sorts of resilience skills as well, I would imagine, with having
Social skills.
and social
Yes.
skills, having to deal with that kind of, feedback and all those sorts of things. Now, I'm not sure if we covered this question. There was just one more thing I wanted to ask before we have a quick music break. What is the disaster that actually finally sends you to this bunker that's been created?
There have been riots in a nearby town, and the first nuke has been launched, so the parents decide it's safe that the kids should be put into the bunker while they go and leave to get more supplies.
Okay, fantastic.
So it's only kids in the bunker.
Yes.
Only kids.
The parents don't actually come back after a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. So then, the kids are kind of left on their own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to ask you a little bit more about all of that, and I want to sort of draw out too how much of like local Ballarat themes you've brought into it, and all those sort of personal experiences and things like that. But we'll do that after the break. We're going to have listen to a little bit of Empire of the Sun, and we will be back with the arts program very shortly. And we're talking with Alarin, Mika, Alana and Ella from the Ballarat Centre of Music and the Arts. And we're talking about an original work, an original play that they have worked on for a whole semester.
Yeah.
So huge congratulations for doing that, and of course it's coming up this weekend at Mount Clear College. We'll talk more about that when we come back from this music break.
If you have a disability and are looking for a job you'll love, call EGF Solutions, specialising in inclusive employment. Part of the G-Force Group with local offices in Ballarat and surrounds, EGF Solutions help people of all abilities discover talents, harness strengths and find rewarding long-term employment. Once you start work, you'll receive ongoing support. EGF helps with on-site training, skill development and confidence building. Chat to the team today at EGF Solutions. The job you'll love might already be waiting for you. egf.org.au.
EGF Solutions, a proud sponsor of Voice FM.
UFS, we're here for you. The Sturt Street UFS Pharmacy is now open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including public holidays. We even have a nurse available every night from 6 until 10 to help with minor ailments. 24/7, 365 healthcare now available at the Sturt Street UFS Pharmacy.
Proud sponsor of Voice FM.
You know, we're different.
Well, you're a bit weird, but I think I'm pretty normal.
No, I mean, community radio is different. Here we are playing hardcore music. The other presenters do country, the all Aussie music hour, 70s and 80s, new releases.
Smooth music.
And more. There's local news and information. We even have a 13-year-old presenter doing their own show weekly.
Whoa, you're right. We are different. Community radio. It's different.
Yes, community radio is different. It's wonderful, and you are listening to the arts program. And of course, we go to air every single Wednesday evening from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. And I'm Pod, and Lynden's in the studio with me, and so is Ella, Alana, Mika, and Alarin, all from BCMA. And it's wonderful to have you in the studio, and it's great to be talking about a completely original play that you've all helped develop called Dust and Ruin. Did it take you long to come up with the title?
It was given to us.
Ah, okay. Did that help you? Did that help you develop the idea?
For our auditions in particular, we were given the name of the play and just the basic rundown of what it would be about.
Yeah,
Oh,
synopsis.
great. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Just to give you a little bit of a focus to work on.
Yeah.
And now, of course, this is a play about global warming and some of the disasters that can result from global warming. And you and some of your colleagues from school? Have you all entered the bunker in your school uniforms, or
No.
Some have, others haven't.
Oh, but you're all family friends, and that's one of the reasons.
Most of them, yes.
And it's a bunker that's been created by your families.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I think we were saying off air that there is actually it is sort of set locally, but that's not really important. But you do have a location. I think you said Murniong. Yeah. Wonder why there. Just sounds interesting. Just rolls off the tongue. Yeah. And so the disaster that happened that sent you into the bunker was, just remind me again.
Riots.
Right, and there was a first nuke that launched.
A first nuclear launch. And then at various times during the play you have other people coming in and out, like other people entering. And what's brought them into the bunker? Is it a similar disaster, the same one?
Not quite. The people who enter somewhat later into the show have got word from other people where it is. And so it's more for them to get somewhere safe.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so this is all sort of happening, I suppose, in the background, but really in the foreground what's happening is all of your relationships and how you're getting on in the bunker, and you know how long are you actually in there for?
Almost a year, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's over a long period of time. So watching the characters' relationships grow and stuff is one of grow and change is one of the best parts. And I think the best parts about the characters is we were given very little about them, but when we've done like shows in the past, we've always had a character to base it off, like, oh, they look and talk like this. But with this, it was completely up to us to totally come up with beliefs for the characters and why they were there, and really experiment with this new person that we've literally created on the spot.
Well, to what extent do you feel like you're actually playing yourself in that situation?
Care to explain, Alana?
Well, my character, I think I'm a bit lucky, is a lot like me. Just a little about, some of the characters. So my character, her way of dealing with being in the bunker is kind of cheering everyone else up, like doing some pranks and stuff, because that's just how she keeps her mind off it. Not everyone else agrees that that's the best way, because wasting resources is obviously a big thing. But yeah, so I'm a bit of an extrovert and I am in the bunker as well, so but yeah, everyone has their own things that they added into the characters.
And did that become, like, as you practiced the play, did that become more apparent that you might need to actually develop certain parts of your personality, for example, and perhaps, I don't know, did you need to have various things have happened to you in the past, or you are a particular way because of something, and have all of that backstory? Alana?
Yes.
And some kind of a plot point in the show is that people have objects that mean a lot to them, because it might remind them of family or a certain memory.
So a little motif that something actual physical that you have with you.
Yeah, I know my character, she wears a watch that belongs to her mother.
Oh, okay. And so you can use those sort of elements to develop your character. It sounds absolutely fantastic, but we better let everyone know where, when, how. Tell us when this play Dust and Ruin starts.
This weekend.
So
Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd.
Thank you, Ella. And how many performances are there?
Just 2.
Sorry, Alarin, I should say. Just the 2 performances. What time of the day or night? Saturday, what time do we have?
The 7th, I believe, on Saturday.
Yep.
7 o'clock, yeah.
Yep. And then Sunday?
12:31.
So it's like a matinee?
Yeah.
And so that's happening at the Gay Goff Centre at Mount Clear College, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've just had an update from the parents outside. The Sunday show is at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, okay. And look, it really is very easy for people to find out, because there is a Facebook event going around which I have shared on our Facebook page already, and I will do so again later. But otherwise, how can people find out about the play, Mika?
So definitely go to Try Booking, and if you just type in the search bar Dust and Ruin, it should come up straight away. And you can
or BCMA.
Or BCMA. There's lots of different ways you can find out about it. Now, I think we've just about covered everything.
So
Congratulations to you all for looking into the future to 2029 and thinking about what might be happening. And it's a really creative thing to do, isn't it, to be thinking about the future and what might be happening and what solutions, I suppose, you might have to come up with. And do you do a lot of problem solving in that practical sense in the play? Do you talk about what you might do for the outside community when you get out, as well as your little arguments and your?
I think at this point it's more so survive and look out for yourself and the people you know, more so than helping for the greater good.
Yeah, but it sounds like a really intriguing play. So good luck with it all.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Oh, an absolute pleasure. And thank you very much, Alarin and Mika and Alana and Ella, for coming into the studio tonight. Always great to have you in. And we'll look forward to hearing more and seeing more about how that play unfolds. So congratulations to you all. Oh, just before you go, what's next on your agenda? Are you developing something new after this, or is this it for the rest of the year? Or
Well, I mean, there are definitely other parts of BCMA that have lots of concerts coming up.
Yes.
But for drama, I think we're just...
That's it for the year.
You're always very busy, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, got lots happening.
After this, we do have our big school end of year performance, which is usually just all the dances, and it does have some acting.
And singing.
Yeah, it's a very good theme this year.
So is that in December?
Yes. I think it's fair to say that all four of us are involved in lots of different parts of BCMA. They
yes,
offer
indeed.
Not just
music,
drama.
dance, drama. They do all aspects of art. So if you want to get into it, check it out.
Check it out. Yeah, I know. And we're always really impressed too at the way you present yourselves and your confidence and the way that you speak up and everything. So it's got there's lots of benefits for joining BCMA, isn't there?
Yeah.
Congratulations once again. And we will be back shortly with more of the arts program. We're listening to a little bit of Empire of the Sun tonight. So stay tuned and we'll be back in a minute.
Stands for the Australian Music Radio Airplay Project. AMRAP is a community radio initiative that works with musicians and community broadcasters to get great Australian music national airplay faster. Over 900 broadcasters now use AMRAP's Air It pages to promote Australian musicians. Check them out at www.amrap.com.au.
You're listening to the arts program. You really are. It's because it's between 6 and 8 p.m. on a Wednesday evening. Isn't that right, Lynden, Nichols?
And it's getting quite competitive for people to listen, actually, Pod, because there's a few things going on tonight.
There's always a lot on
Always
a Wednesday
a lot
night, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
So
Who'd have
thanks
thought?
for choosing us.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And with us in the studio now is Peter Freund.
Hello.
Welcome, Peter Freund from the Art Gallery of Ballarat.
I put time aside on my Wednesday.
Yeah, that's great. We really appreciate it. And of course, you do all of the marketing and programming and all sorts of things for the Art Gallery.
Yep.
So usually when you come in, we have a bit of light-hearted banter, as always, but we will often talk about events that are coming up. And there's loads coming up.
There is.
At the Art Gallery.
Indeed.
And one of the things that really excited me was the trivia night. I know it's not for a little while.
Oh, yeah, but you've got a plan.
That's right.
Are you good at trivia, Pod?
No, I'm not good at it, but I just think they're great fun.
Yeah.
And it's just such good fun. Like, even when you get the questions wrong, like I do.
Especially when you get the questions wrong.
I just think it's fun because you can go, like, as a, sit with a group and have a bit of banter and have
and
it.
you're challenged. Your brain is challenged about pop stars and things like that.
Indeed.
Are all the questions going to be arty?
No, not all. They'll be related in some ways, but there'll be different categories. So, you know. Yeah.
I'm no good at movies. I'm never any good at movies and movie stars.
No.
What are you good at?
I don't know. Sport. I'm not bad at sport.
Oh, good. You're always very valuable. You're always very valuable on a team dominated by arts people.
That's right.
Indeed.
I'm quite good at arty-farty, but just not movies.
Oh, you would be. You need to give yourself more credit. You've got a very broad body of knowledge.
Yeah.
So I can't remember the gallery having a trivia night before.
No, in fact, this is an initiative of the Gallery Association who are looking around at things to sort of give their members points of access to the gallery and doing things that are sort of social and but also contribute to the gallery, because the point of this trivia night is that it's going to be raising money for purchasing a lino cut print by Rona Green. And if you don't know her work, you might have seen during Romancing the Skull these sort of portraits of dogs covered in tattoos.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they're quite memorable.
She often does dogs, but she does do
other animals as well.
Yeah.
She does chooks and generally they have tattoos.
Yes.
And they're quite bold, aren't they?
Yeah, very simple
Coloured
lines,
background.
clear lines, coloured, solid backgrounds, and then
Yeah.
So there's actually one. The one we're raising money to buy is actually going to be in the exhibition that's coming up, which we'll talk about a little later on.
Okay. So why Rona Green and why this particular work?
Well, the gallery has a list of artists that we want to acquire. So, and it's quite a long list.
I bet.
But we needed to find something, because obviously a trivia night's not going to raise thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So we needed to buy something that was key to the gallery collection, that made sense in terms of the gallery collection, that it was of an artist who's doing interesting things and on the list. That's right. So this sort of qualified because it was going to be in the exhibition, because it was on the list of acquisitions, because it was within the budget of likely money raised at a trivia night. So it all just sort of made sense. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like great fun, and I know there is an event that's been doing the rounds on social media, but I think it's coming up later in November,
23rd of November, it's a Saturday night. So. And
I mean, often these things are get a table together, but I'm sure you can just turn up on your own and jump on a table with someone or something like that.
An orphan's table or two.
But it sounds like it'll be wonderful fun.
Yeah.
No. And just so what is the exhibition that's coming up that this work is part of?
So that's Dark Horse. So that's a collection exhibition. So we've got 4 exhibitions over the summer which all relate in some way, either greater or lesser degree, to animals or curious creatures. So we're calling our summer exhibitions A Summer of Curious Creatures.
Oh.
And Dark Horse is going to be quite a big show, but it's all drawn from our collection. There's about 8 or 9, I think, different themes within the exhibition. And Julie McLaren has curated it. She put together a really trying to find the sort of things that are a bit quirky or a bit odd or
are they the dark horses of the gallery collection? I'm doing.
You got it.
Does Dark Horse?
You've got air apostrophe, air inverted commas.
Yeah. Is that the same as a black sheep?
Indeed, yeah. He's a bit of a dark horse. He hides his light under a bushel, It's, has hidden talents that don't often show themselves. Yes.
Okay.
So these are hidden treasures which don't often show themselves necessarily.
And so this is going to be one of the summer...
Of curious creatures.
Okay. And speaking of summer, I know last year there was sort of like a celebration to kind of kick off the summer events. Is that happening again this year?
There will be on the 14th of December. We're just about to put out stuff about that and send out notifications to members and to everyone around town. I'm still putting why we haven't done it is I'm still confirming a couple of the details in it. So it's going to be quite exciting. There's going to be a petting zoo.
Oh.
Yes, there's going to be performing budgies. Yep. So it will be fun for all.
Performing budgies.
As well as
pod.
Will they be inside or outside of the gallery, the performing budgies?
Inside.
Right.
So and there will be a bar. Because it's a gallery, there's got to be wine.
Yeah. So usually...
But it'll be family friendly as well.
Yes, and I think last year it was, open the doors and, like a sort of a most of the day event and all sorts of different things.
It's all afternoon, there's pop-up talks and...
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
When's that? Oh, December.
On the 14th of December. So put it in your diary now because Christmas is coming. Time is getting precious.
Yes.
Well, it's always precious, but particularly precious.
And so that'll sort of launch off the summer program then, I suppose, won't it?
That's right, yeah. Well, that marks the date that the last of those 4 exhibitions will be open.
Okay, fantastic. Now, something I'm very curious about, something that's on tomorrow night at the gallery called 19 to the Dozen. I think it's a cappella performance.
It is. So this is the Song Company. Song Company, they've been going for 35 years now, but they're really Australia's top unaccompanied classical group. They're absolutely fantastic. Really skilled singers, skilled at working together. They generally perform a cappella, unaccompanied, and they do really challenging material, but they also try and make their performances really accessible and varied and intriguing. And
what's the particular focus of this performance?
Well, this one is their 35th anniversary, so they have commissioned 19 contemporary Australian composers to write small works for them, with no words. I believe the whole concert's no words, but maybe the older pieces have words. But the 19 new pieces don't have words. So there are 19 new pieces, and then there are 12 pieces, each representing something that's come from the last 12 centuries of music. So it's the new Australian wordless contemporary pieces set against some much more familiar sounds of 19th, 20th, 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th.
It sounds quite intriguing, but I know it'll all make a lot more sense when people turn up and actually. I suppose it's about sound, isn't it, rather than words?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, sounds fantastic.
So they are really, really good.
That's on tomorrow night.
Yeah, so they tour all around the country. They've got 3 or 4 touring programs. They've really never managed to establish a really broad following in Victoria. They've got fantastic support in New South Wales, and they perform in Sydney at the Sydney Opera House. They go to Newcastle, Wollongong, Canberra, and regular touring within New South Wales. They come to Melbourne, and the audiences are reasonably small. It's bizarre. I don't know why.
Where are they based?
They're based in Sydney. But because they tour to Victoria, they've been really keen to build in another touring gig with their Melbourne concerts. So we had 2 concerts by them last year, and this is the 2nd concert this year.
Okay.
And we're really trying to build up recognition for them within Ballarat and build up an audience for them in Ballarat, because we've found over the years that it's the groups who keep coming back that people tend to support, because they're familiar, they've built a relationship with them, they know what to expect. And so that's the Song Company. It's selling fairly slowly, this concert, which is really disappointing, and they've actually put out a special offer. If you go and buy tickets online, you can actually, if you buy 2 or more, you can get them for half price.
Okay, well that's
so
very
good.
good.
It's
tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's right, 7:30.
Yep.
And after the concert, there'll be wine and cheese, because it's a gallery. It's wine and cheese. Yes.
Yeah, there's got to be wine and cheese.
And so you can meet the performers.
Oh, great.
And the conductor, Anthony Pitts, and it's a really great night.
I was just thinking while you were talking then, there seems to be a lot of evening events on at the gallery at the moment, because you've had like another skill up course, I think. Was that at the gallery this week? I think last night.
Yeah. A workshop, and there's another ticketed concert on Saturday afternoon, the Ben Winkleman Trio, New York. Well, he's a New York-based Australian pianist now, based in New York, who is touring around the country with a couple of Australian musos, and it's a great jazz night in Saturday afternoon in the concert, and in the gallery at 1:00 on Saturday. So we've got a lot of ticketed concerts, certainly a lot of evening events. I'm certainly because I usually go to every one. It's sort of long nights, but it's...
and then we invited you here, Peter.
I know, it's okay, that's fine. I love coming here.
We're so committed. The 3 of us, we're just committed to the arts.
And just to mention it, because I probably won't mention it before get here next week, probably won't be invited back, I don't know. Next Friday night, because the Frolic Festival will have started.
Yes.
We've actually got Lance de Boyle, local queer identity.
Yep, yes. Queering the gallery.
That's right, queering the gallery.
I was going to ask you about that.
So Lance will be taking people on a tour of the gallery, giving his unique perspectives on works in the collection.
And is that going to go sort of live to air?
Ooh, we'll see.
You might need to take your microphone in, Lynden.
Yeah.
So that's Friday. We do actually have Jay from the Frolic Festival coming in next Wednesday, so we'll probably hear more about that.
But I guess the thing about that queering the gallery tour, which has wine and cheese because we're a gallery,
yes,
is that it's limited numbers, because we don't want a huge horde of people trooping around. So It is limited, so get onto there quickly.
So this is Lance giving his interpretation of some of the works?
That's right.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
So has he got particular works he's going to highlight, or will it be off the cuff?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, that sounds like great fun. So that's Friday week. And I know when you go to the Art Gallery Facebook page at least and then click on the events, there is a whole list of events that come up, so you can really easily find all of this.
And if they're ticketed, there's always ticketing links. So I know our website is a bit slow and you have to be persistent, but it is...
it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's looking,
my words exactly.
It's looking great, actually, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing we want to ask you about is Backspace. Lynden and I often have people saying to us, now, do you still enter Backspace via Camp Street? Has anything changed there?
Backspace has changed, yes. So physically it's changed because we got rid of the old cafe servery from when way back it used to be Copper's restaurant. So that's gone because we weren't using it enough, and it was really confusing the identity of the space as an exhibition space, and it was sort of too valuable to miss out on. So that's gone, and there's now a wall screening the toilets, and it's an exhibition wall. It's a really good exhibition wall. And so that's large and more exhibition space, and it's now the three spaces of the Backspace are all now more integrated. But also, as part of that, we've opened Backspace up to the gallery as a regular thing. So when an exhibition's on in Backspace, it's open 7 days a week, 10 till 5. So it's vastly increasing the hours that exhibitions are available to the public. But... so we're not then requiring artists to sit the space.
You're not?
No, because that's 7 days a week. That's way too long. So I guess the thing about artists sitting the space and Backspace not being accessible from the rest of the gallery is that we had it accessible from Camp Street. So I think the downside of all this is that people can't just turn up to Backspace and go to the exhibition. They have to go in through the main doors of the gallery and go through.
And as I was saying before off air, I think I now understand the backstory and the reasoning, but I do really regret that little coming in and out of Backspace and sitting on the steps just outside, and that whole little buzz that can happen just around Backspace in Alfred Deakin Place. I think that's missing, and I think that's very sad.
I get it. Look, and that is certainly one of the downsides.
So
we still do open Backspace out to Alfred Deakin Place for the openings. So if you come along on a Friday, and in fact, there's one this Friday.
That's right.
It will be open to the outdoors. Then we have the formalities up in McCain Hall. Because there was a sort of sense of camaraderie, I guess, and all squashing in together, but it was actually really quite a hazard. It was like in these days of OH&S, whatever, to have those speeches in the Backspace for the openings.
Always had to spill out, really.
Yeah, and a lot of people just couldn't get to participate, and it was just not good. And it was fun in some way you do it outside. And we could still do that, but we actually do the formalities up in the McCain Hall where there's lots of room and everyone can. And
I must say that having, said what you've just said, Lynden, about perhaps the loss of that little bit of, sitting around in the smaller groups, I like the idea that the community space has been sort of brought back into the gallery proper.
Yeah.
I suppose like once upon a time that one of the spaces at the front of the gallery I think was used for community exhibitions. So I like that idea that it's all become more under the same umbrella. And that the openings are in that McCain space like all of the other openings are. I really like that, So basically if people want to go and see an exhibition now, they do go through the main doors, and it's basically normal gallery hours.
That's right, yeah.
And so for the opening tomorrow night...
Friday night,
Friday night, a new exhibition opening. People will come through the main door, make their way out to...
Well, for the opening, they can actually come through Alfred Deakin Place through Camp Street because we'll be opening up from the back.
Okay.
In fact, So the exhibitions,
has the turnover of exhibitions changed? Are they shorter or longer?
No, this one is shorter just because there was a glitch, which I believe we inherited that problem. That they were only allocated a 2-week period.
Oh, okay. So but generally it'll be 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Hope I'm not going
3 weeks,
outside
and then
your...
next year it'll actually spread to 4 weeks. So rather than having this sort of 3 weeks rolling through the year, it's actually per calendar month.
Oh, wow.
So there will only be, it means there'll be 12 exhibitions rather than 15 or more, yeah. And
And that's a wonderful space provided by the gallery because, as we've sort of touched on, it is like a community space for local artists to exhibit, and you with part of your exhibition you get an opening event and invitations and all that sort of thing.
And we're really working very hard to connect those exhibitions to things that are happening in the community. So in March there's going to be a multicultural exhibition related to the Multicultural Ambassador program. We've actually had a meeting this afternoon about during June there's going to be an exhibition of work by refugee artists because June has Refugee Week. So it's still, sometimes it'll be an individual artist, sometimes groups of artists, sometimes it'll be a group show which has been put together for a particular theme.
And the show coming up is by Alison Desmond, Max Sharam and Elizabeth Winter, and it's called Between Worlds. I don't really know much about it, but there you go.
So Liz Winter, their paintings, quite colourful, and there's fruit and flowers and various things. There's a whole rationale behind it, but that's just very briefly. Alison, drawings and mixed media, relating to her practice both as an artist and as a writer, and so there's a lot of integration of words within those. And Max Sharam, who's actually based in New York most of the time now, she won't be at the opening. That's photographic works, but she also does video as well.
Okay, I haven't seen any of her.
I think
She does indeed. Yes. And those wonderful events are open to the public. Anyone can go to those.
They can.
They normally start at 6:30.
The speech is at 6:30.
Yep,
so if you want to drink before the speeches,
arrive at 6 for a 6:30 start. Is there anything urgent we need to mention?
I didn't talk. I only mentioned one of the summer exhibitions. Have I got time to mention what the others are?
Yes, you do.
Okay,
yes.
So I mentioned Dark Horse. Subtitled Wild Beasts and Curious Creatures. Then there's also Troy Emery, and that's also open from Saturday week, the 9th of November.
Fascinating work, Troy Emery. Most unusual blob-like creatures. Can I say that?
Yeah, blob-like creatures? Is that a technical art term? Yeah. So he makes these creatures draped in polyester fibres.
Yeah.
So some of them are gold, brightly coloured, and you never see their eyes. They're all sort
can't
of
wait to see that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're 3D. Like
They're sculptures.
I reckon you'll like it.
He also He also paints sort of very heavily impasto, very textured paintings as well, vibrant, and he's also. It's put with works with things from our collection, quite a few sort of decorative arts, little ceramic animals and things like that, but also things to do with gold and the gold rushes and also landscape. So it's an interesting show blending a whole lot of different themes.
Say what it's called again?
After the Gold Rush.
Oh, after.
Troy Emery, After the Gold Rush.
Fantastic.
And then Jeff Bonney, whom a lot of people will know. So this is probably the most marginal connection to animals. His show's called Pangrams, and a pangram is a sentence that has all the letters of the alphabet, as in the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, which is, of course, two animals in that. Yeah. But he looks at pangrams and then he produces codes, and then he produces for these in this particular series, because he's of course a sculptor and all sorts of things as well. He's got some paintings which are determined by the codes that he's generated from the pangrams.
Oh, right.
But Jeff has actually got a big sculpture included in Dark Horse called Puppy, which is an enormous and very endearing puppy made out of like glass baubles, like on a Christmas tree, but the big glass bauble, big golden baubles.
I love Jeff's sort of sense of humour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite whimsical and fun.
And then finally, on the 14th of December, it will be open a show by Cake Industries, Jesse Stevens and Dean Peterson.
Yeah, who we talked to on this show.
And so they make sort of electronic animals, I suppose, robotic creatures, and
they do.
And it's a display of their work, some of which will be new, and some we're not exactly sure what's going to be in it.
Never know what those two lads will come up with.
Did the gallery commission them to make work for this?
Yes, we did. And it's something they've been wanting to do for a long time, and it just sort of worked out to do it now, and it's fantastic, really. So that's the last of our animal shows.
That sounds fantastic. Can't wait. Is it all going to fit into the gallery? It sounds like lots.
Ooh, as well as people.
Yes.
I'll make sure I wear my otter clothes when I come along.
But make sure you don't get mistaken for an artwork and have to live there for the whole entire, however long it goes for.
Thanks, Pod.
All right.
We'll give you a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
Yes. Yeah.
And throw you a biscuit.
Well, that all sounds fantastic, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have we covered off everything, do you think, at this point in time? Because I can see Dawn Whitehand is waiting very patiently to come into the studio.
Probably do for the moment, but I'll have to come back and tell you more.
You have to come back, yes. Yeah. Maybe in... December.
Sometime.
Maybe just
because we'll have some summer holiday programs. So we can talk about that.
Yeah, so that would be after that'd be after Christmas, would it? Or
definitely after Christmas. So
maybe we'll get you back just before the 14th of December. Before all of that,
and remind people that they have to be at the gallery on the 14th of December.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yep, fine.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Peter Freund. And as you can hear, folks, there's loads going on at the gallery, loads coming up. So make sure you check out the events page at the Art Gallery of Ballarat website and on the Facebook page and see what's coming up. Lots to get involved with, lots to do. People of all ages.
Yep.
Yes, and an opening there at Backspace.
And just one thing. Julie McLaren's going to be doing a curator tour of the Troy Emery exhibition and Dark Horse exhibitions on the 9th of November at 2:00 in the afternoon. So I don't think it's on our website yet, but I'll get it up there tomorrow.
What day of the week is that?
Saturday.
On a Saturday. Okay, cool.
It's the first day of those two exhibitions.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
Put it in your diary.
Put it in your diary. We shall remind people, and thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
So we're going to have a listen to some Felix Riebel now. And you are listening to the Arts Program. We go to air every Wednesday evening from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. I'm Pauline O'Shaughnessy Dowling, otherwise known as Pod, and with me...
I'm Lynden Nichols.
Lynden Nichols. And we've been running this show for it'll be 5 years in April next year. Can you believe it?
Gosh, we were young when we started.
Oh, we were young and frivolous, weren't we? Yes. So big birthday party next year. And speaking of birthday parties, we have in the studio with us now Dawn Whitehand, the owner of Claymotion. And Dawn, you're celebrating your second Claymotion birthday.
Yes.
This year. Congratulations. Well, now, isn't it?
Yeah, now, this month. Yeah. So 2 years in Mare Street East.
Yeah.
So we've survived.
Yeah, and so of course you're a potter and a ceramicist by trade, and I suppose you've brought your particular knowledge to this business, and you run pottery and clay classes, but all sorts of things are going on at Claymotion. You do all sorts of classes.
I don't know about the other things.
Yeah.
Dawn, tell us a couple of things that aren't to do with clay. Perhaps.
So I teach pottery, mosaics, acrylic pouring. We're doing drawing this term, and an eco-dyeing workshop is coming up this Saturday. So I teach all those, and then I get other tutors in to do other sorts of workshops. So it just depends on who I can get in. But this term we've got kokedama workshops and succulent wreath workshops, but they are both sold out. And we've
succulent wreath.
Wreath.
Tell us a bit about that.
Well, a wreath, like how you get those round Christmas wreathy things, and you bind succulents into them using moss, sphagnum moss, and wire and jute.
And don't the plants sort of die?
Well, no, because succulents don't need
Succulents
much.
just don't die.
Succulents are sort of like cactuses.
Yeah. And
Oh,
these wreaths look absolutely especially if you're a succulent lover like I am. They just look absolutely gorgeous, don't they?
So do you deliberately use a few prickly ones?
Well, you can if you like.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the thing about succulents is they have all sorts of different shapes and different shades of green. I suppose generally there are other colours, but they just make a beautiful kind of a pattern, kind of a
That's right. You've
piece of art, I
You've got
suppose.
spiky ones and round ones, and so they're just the shapes are all textures, and they look good.
I actually didn't know you were doing the succulent wreaths. I must check that out.
There were 2 workshops, and they both sold out within days.
I can imagine. A bit like your macrame workshops as well.
Yep. So there is a macrame workshop coming up, and there are a couple of spots left. But only
So
a couple.
macrame's making comeback.
Yes.
Big time.
Can you do things with macrame other than a hanging pot holder?
Yes, you can, but the tutor is doing hanging pot holders for this upcoming workshop, but she has done other ones in the past.
Like what? What else can you make?
She's done some wall hanging workshops.
That kind of weaving and wall hanging is that's going off. There's a lot of you can see, there's so much you can make and so much beautiful like wall art and art items you can make.
So it's a bit like creative crochet, if you like, like with knots and other sorts of ways of
maybe a cross between crochet and weaving, kind of, sort of.
But you can make all sorts of you can use all sorts of different materials. You can you can really size up as well. Like I was actually looking at something on Instagram yesterday of a woman that's making wall art out, like she's weaving, but she's using beautiful coloured different ropes and making all sorts of beautiful organic shapes, and it's just amazing what you can do.
So it's macrame, the history of macrame, is that, like, where does the word come from, actually? I'm just realising that's an interesting word, macrame. Is that French?
I would suggest asking Dr. Google.
We should have looked that up. Maybe one of us can have a quick Google while the other is talking about where that. But it sounds like it could be French, doesn't it?
But I'm just interested in the techniques, whether or not they're indigenous to a particular
certain place.
I wonder. It's all about knotting, isn't it? It's all about just knotting over and over
Well, it
again.
might be indigenous to scouts.
Well, yes, it could be, but I suppose in that way it is very similar to something like crochet and knitting, which is just making different knots with
Well, there
different,
you go,
different
folks.
sort
Have
of
fun
stitches.
finding out about macrame.
Yeah, well, you've piqued my interest a bit more now too. I'm going to find. I used to do a bit of macrame once upon a time. It's one of the. It's like crochet as well in that it's very. Like you can, it's a really mindful thing to do. Meditative,
mesmerising almost. Sort of.
Really beautiful.
So, Dawn, with say the macrame teaching person, if you, I'm just thinking about Claymotion as a business. So I'm wondering if you think of a modality and contact a person who might be able to teach that, or has it happened? It's probably happened both ways. That somebody who teaches something might come to you.
It has happened both ways. The macrame and both the macrame and kokedama tutors, I sourced them almost not very long after we opened the shop, so I sourced them. But I have had other people approach me. I had someone come in from Beaufort last week who is wanting to do some pastel workshops next year.
And I know you've had Jess Schroeder in before too, doing print making.
Yep. So we just have different things here and there. Whoever's available to do something. So so if people are interested, if they've got a skill that they want to share, then by all means let me know, because I'll be looking for the term 1 workshops, a bit before Christmas, which sounds really weird, but you kind of have to plan it all ahead.
Yeah. And you have, we're going to talk about a little bit more about the structure of the business and get back to the birthday party as well, which is coming up on Friday. But I mean, at the front of the business there in Mare Street, you have the retail area, but then at the back you do have a number of classrooms and what have you, don't you?
Yeah, there's
where
two studios.
teachers can set up their various workshops and what have you. And I suppose you've got your pottery wheels and things out there too, have you?
Yes.
Yep. And I know a perennial favourite is your I suppose your clay throwing and your what do you call them, your new moulding of clay little workshops that you do. Like they just seem to keep going.
They do.
Going gangbusters. People love getting their fingers into clay, don't they?
Yeah. It's very therapeutic.
Yeah.
And, you can do anything with it because it's so mouldable. So,
And do you do, along with your school holiday programs and what have you, do you do after school programs as well?
Mm-hmm.
So the full...
So the kids' classes are after school on a Wednesday afternoon. So we just had one finished at 5:30 and a Saturday morning. So that's all I've got for kids at the moment, and that's for pottery. But I want to introduce just a general art class for kids next year. Might just start it off as a 4-week block and do a different medium each week. So I've got that in the planning stages for hopefully term 1 next year.
So you might do a bit of drawing, a bit of pottery, a bit of maybe 3D of some sort. And, oh, that sounds like good fun.
Yeah.
Now, something else that Lynden and I are very interested in is like going from, I suppose, an artist with your own practice making things to then taking it to a whole new level and opening a business and having it run for 2 years going into 3 years is no mean feat. Is it?
No.
It's it's a. What are some of the if you could you share with us some of the benefits of doing something like this?
The benefits. You should have sent me a list of questions before the show.
I should have. But I suppose one of them is that I suppose you get to, you're expanding your practice, aren't you? Because I know that you are teaching drawing quite a bit now too, aren't you? So you're focusing on those various skills.
Yeah, things have expanded. But when I was still in my home studio, because I'd been teaching in my home studio since 2005 or something along those lines, I only had space to do ceramics because if you're doing lots of other things, you have to also have storage space for the other things in between classes. So I could really only do ceramics, but being in the larger studio now, I've got more storage space. So immediately I started doing mosaics, and then slowly I've just been, building up extra classes in other skills.
And look, I suppose the other thing I'm getting at too is that, we're talking a lot in Ballarat at the moment and the wider arts community about making your practice sustainable. It's something we've talked about with the new sort of creative cities strategy about, artists sort of making your practice more sustainable, which I suppose is what you're doing really, aren't you?
Yeah, completely.
So you're I suppose you're keeping the doors open sort of like 6 days a week and
5 days. I am having a weekend, so we are closed on Sundays and Mondays. Have to have some sanity somewhere, but of course on that Sunday and Monday I'm still doing marketing and things like that and planning, but I'm doing it from the veranda at home.
And I suppose, Dawn, it must be that because I know you live a little bit out of Ballarat, so to speak, and being in Mare Street and having a studio and teaching space in the centre of town, that must be good for exposure and just people's accessibility. So that must influence how many people enrol for different classes and things, do you think?
Yes, that was one of the benefits of moving into town, that I could, as well as having more storage space to offer more, it was also more accessible. Where I live, there's actually no public transport there, so it was car dependent, so anyone that wanted to do a course had to have a car. So there's much more accessible with where we are now. And Ballarat's growing.
But of course there's things like, I'm assuming you pay rent for that space. And, so there's immediately all those business words and terms and things.
You need a business plan for a start, don't you?
Business plan. If you're having other people teach, then you've got to have some sort of contract or whatever that is. OH&S and, there's huge things, which is really very different from doing things in your own studio at home.
That's right.
Which you could say is an extension of your friends, if you needed to, when questioned, perhaps.
Was it a scary...
You can't do that.
No, there's lots and lots and lots to consider.
So has that been a really big learning curve for you?
Sort of, but I have been self-employed myself since
22.
Since last century.
Yes, since last century.
92 or something around those lines.
So you used to, you know what it's like to have to rely on your own resources, and that's a very big thing, isn't it? Like that's a huge. Because what I was trying to ask you before too. Like, is it scary to go into something like this? But maybe not as much for you as others, because you know what it's like to have to, I suppose, rely on yourself. I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, it was still a big step to upscale from home studio to in town.
Did you do any special courses in the lead up, or you just built up some skills over the years? And
well, because I used to run a business many years ago. We were the second in Australia to do it, the first in Victoria, home delivery of fruit and vegetables. And we were the first ones to have an online website where people could order online. And we had a factory, and we had at the height of the business, we were running about 3 or 4 trucks. We employed a dozen people, so I kind of picked up a few skills from that.
Well, you would.
Kind of would.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to know. How important do you think it is to have a clear business plan?
I think it is important to know what you're doing. It's good to write it down. It's good you've got something in writing that you can then play with and push around the page and what have you. So I think, it's good.
And I know you were saying off air just before that now that you've reached the 2 years, you are thinking about changing, developing the business.
when you're doing something for a couple of years, you have to let things take their course, but you sort of work out what's working, what's not working, what you need to ramp up, what you need to phase out.
So what are you going to do next? You're changing things a bit, aren't you?
So to coincide with the second anniversary or birthday, where I'm revamping the shop window. So originally when we moved in and opened, we wanted to support local makers with the window display. There's not a lot of passing traffic foot traffic in Mare Street. People just drive past, which doesn't affect my classes because that's a specific purpose for going there for the classes. So that doesn't affect that at all. But things are kind of like slow moving in the window. So we're deciding to just focus on ceramics in the window and just push ceramics. So I've got a few local ceramicists also putting work in as well as myself, and kind of market it as the if you want quality ceramics, this is the place to come to. So just focus on ceramics for a while and kind of see how that goes. And then, of course, they're doing the Mare Street upgrade, which I am thinking once that's all done, there will be more foot traffic for that retail outcome because it'll be more inviting for people to walk. So we'll just put ceramics in there for a while and then see, perhaps reevaluate again after the Mare Street upgrades.
Sounds fantastic. Now, listen, let's have a very quick music break, and then when we come back, I want to talk about your birthday party on Friday, because there's lots of people can do, including getting a glass of champagne.
Yes,
which sounds really
complimentary.
Nice. Let's have a listen
I had champagne, did I?
Oh, you did. We're going to talk about it when we come back.
Okay.
We're going to have a listen to a bit of music. This is The Waifs and Daydreamer. We'll be back with more of the Outs program in a moment. I've got to find a song that will play. It sometimes does that for some reason. Let's have a little see what I can find here. It loves to test me out sometimes, this computer. Let me try this one.
UFS, we're here for you.
The Sturt Street UFS Pharmacy is now open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including public holidays. We even have a nurse available every night from 6 until 10 to help with minor ailments. 24/7, 365 healthcare now available at the Sturt Street UFS Pharmacy.
We're here for you.
Proud sponsor of Voice FM.
We're different.
Well, you're a bit weird, but I think I'm pretty normal.
No, I mean, community radio is different. Here we are playing hardcore music. The other presenters do country, the all Aussie music hour, 70s and 80s, new releases,
Smooth music.
and more. There's local news and information. We even have a 13-year-old presenter doing their own show weekly.
Whoa, you're right. We are different. Community radio. It's different.
And you're listening to the arts program where we go to air every Wednesday evening from 6 till 8 p.m. and we talk all things arts, creativity, creative conversations, creative interviews with me, Pauline Dowling, and you, Lynden. Nichols. I know you like to say your own name, so
yeah, thanks,
yep. And we're talking to Dawn Whitehand, who is the owner of Claymotion in Mare Street. We've just been talking about all the different classes that people of all ages can take part in at Claymotion, everything from pottery to mosaics to acrylic pouring and drawing and kokodamas and macrame and lots more. And you're having a second birthday celebration this Friday evening.
Yes.
Starting at 6 p.m.
Yep, drop in any time between 6 and 9. Everyone's welcome, all ages, family, friends, kids. Complimentary glass of champagne, but not for the kids. There'll be juice and water for the kids.
And will Peeps be there? Your trusty,
Peeps will be there.
Lovely dog.
Peeps will be there. He's the meet and greet committee, so he'll be meeting and greeting.
Yes, he must be very used to the space by now.
Yeah.
And of course, you're at 34A Mare Street.
Mare Street East.
Mare Street East, easy to find. And when you say east, that means between somewhere and somewhere else, I do believe.
Yeah, it's down the Peel Street end.
Yeah. So
not the hospital end.
Yeah.
Peel Street.
Oh, of course, yes. It's a very long street.
Yeah.
It's a very long street.
Yes. And across the road from one of the pubs. So, near between Peel Street and Grenville Street it would be. Yeah, fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, so we're also, one of the other new things that we're doing is having a drop-in craft table, which will be open, available during opening hours for anyone to just drop in, and I'll have a couple of different craft projects set up every week, and people can just come in and make whatever's the craft table is being offering that week. And so we're launching that also at the birthday party.
Oh.
Yeah. So complimentary glass of champagne or juice and water, and I'm going to have 4 craft projects set up on the table. What are we doing?
You've got paper weaving.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yes,
and you've
paper
got some
weaving.
stenciling.
Stenciling.
Which is one of the perennial favourites as well.
Yes.
Do people make their own stencils?
No. I'm going to have them there for
stencils
the night.
ready just to do a bit of mark making, a bit of playing around with some
Are
paint.
they allowed to take them out and run around the streets stenciling things? No.
Dawn wouldn't see that.
No,
she wouldn't. She wouldn't see
it.
That was a silly question for radio.
Can I just? So you're going to have a table set up regularly where people can just come in and just take a little bit of time out.
It's going to be there all the time.
How lovely!
Yeah. So the other 2 projects we're going to have is felt flowers and dream catchers. That's going to be a free event on the Friday for the birthday party, and then ongoing from there. Yes, that table will be permanently set up with craft projects on it, and there'll be coffee and tea and what have you, things like that. And it will be $15 to make whatever craft projects are set up on the table.
But it's a nice little kind of drop in,
casual, whenever, have a cup of tea, do some craft.
And it might be just a half hour, but you might stay for an hour or an hour and a half.
And make something to take away.
Take away, and suitable for kids as well. So, you could bring some kids in or, whatever.
Oh, that's great. So hop along to the second birthday party this Friday evening, anytime between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. To 34A Mare Street East. So that's the part of Mare Street that's between Peel Street and Grenville Street.
Yes.
And you'll be able to join in some celebrations, make a bit of art, check out the space, and I suppose check out, if you potentially want to run some classes there, check out the various spaces and
as well.
have a look through.
Yep, for sure.
Oh, fantastic. Anything else we need to highlight at this point in time?
Oh,
you're in the midst of term 4, so you'll go. You match the school term.
The pottery goes with the pottery classes for adults and kids go with the school term. The other classes vary. So the Mosaics is a 4-week block. There's one coming up which has still got vacancies in it. We're doing house numbers. There's the drawing is a 4-week block. The other classes are just 2 or 3 one-off.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the. You've got one coming up this weekend, which is the eco dyeing. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we're eco dyeing silk scarves, so everyone will have 2 scarves to eco dye, and we're basically just using natural botanicals. I'm going to bring a heap of things in from my property at home, so gum leaves and gum nuts and wattle. And
so you wrap up the organic materials in the silk.
You wrap it all up in your silk.
Do you need to tie it up tightly?
Bundle it up. You can just tie it up with string, or you can tie it up with rusty wire, which leaves some beautiful marks. The rust leaves some beautiful marks on the silk, and then we steam them in a big steamer. And then unwrap them.
And the colour all comes from the organic material, and it's quite amazing some of the colours you can achieve. So I suppose it's a similar process to tie dyeing, except you're using all organic materials rather than dyes.
Yeah. And the colours, therefore, are more subtle. You're not going to get bright blues and bright reds, you know, they're more earthy tones. But yeah, you're getting some nice pinky purples from camellias and some nice olivey greens from lemon leaves. So yeah, we're getting some nice colours. And
because it's steamed into the silk, when you wash it, like the colour stays there.
Yeah. So there's vinegar involved for colour setting and things like that, and then we iron them afterwards to set it. And
how long does that process take?
So the workshop goes for 3 hours.
And that's a very satisfying process as well, isn't it? Seeing the beginning
marks.
And the marks right through to the end. It's quite fascinating, really, isn't it? And I know eco dyeing is another thing, like all of the other workshops you've been talking about, that's really just really sort of caught on, hasn't it?
It's really popular,
Beautiful.
Well, it's beautiful, and it sort of ties works to the environment, in an obvious way.
And it ties in with the slow movement and all those sorts of things. So
really gorgeous. Well, congratulations, Dawn.
Thank you.
One of our first guests on the program back in the day, and one of our regulars. We really appreciate you coming in because we know you're exceptionally busy running that business.
Oh, yeah, no, but I like coming on, so thanks for asking me.
And lots for people to see and do, and I'm really loving the idea of these drop-in classes that you've got happening as well, and seeing the business develop and coming up with new ideas. It's really fantastic. So,
thank you.
All righty. Well, and we'll share more about that on our Facebook page later and remind people about that party that's coming up this Friday. Thanks very much, Dawn Whitehand.
Thanks for having me on pod, and Lyndall.
And then we'll talk to you again. Lyndall, she'll just respond.
Lynden?
Yeah. Now, let's go to some more music, and this will be interesting, won't it? Because I'm not having a whole lot of luck, but let me try you again, Amy Brule. She's pretty reliable. Let's have a go at Jacques Andre. All right, you're listening to the Arts Program, and now we have in the studio with us Peter Sparky Sparkman. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to have you in the studio. We haven't had you in here a whole lot over the years, I must say.
No,
we try and get you in, but you're a little bit sort of reluctant for some reason.
Well, I used to be shy, but like every time I talk to you two, I end up feeling so relaxed. I could just be on here for hours.
And well, thank you. I'm very excited to hear that you have an exhibition coming up that you're installing this weekend.
That's right.
Yes. And it's going into the Ballarista Cafe near the corner of Lydiard and Sturt Street. And it's called Popix.
Yes.
Popix, which is a bit like Topics.
Sort of topics, yes.
A bit like pop art.
A bit pop artish and a bit photographic.
And a bit topical.
Yes.
Yeah.
A bit topical.
And I haven't been to a lot of exhibitions of yours, I must say, over the years. What's going on?
There's one image in it that's related to that, and it's to do with the scarcity of community gallery spaces in Ballarat. It's terribly hard to get into them, you know. You've got to work out what you're doing and see if you can get in well over a year ahead.
Indeed. Yeah, you've got to be very organised, don't you?
Yeah.
You've got to have a body of work ready to go, ready to submit, don't you, for any opportunities?
And then if the show's a year away, you might have moved on from then.
Indeed,
You know,
yeah. It's a tricky space to be in, isn't it?
So what medium do you use, Sparky, for those who are listening?
Well, this one's comprised of, so it's photography, but it's also the next level of development in my investigation into sort of pop art, like Roy Lichtenstein-esque sort of things. So I made some AO posters that I stuck on the side of the Stockade Cellars that people would have seen during BOA, and until they eventually faded away and got pulled down. And then the picture-making fellas put their big mural up there.
Oh, yes, yeah.
For the photo biennale. So anyway, it's like the next phase of what I've been thinking of to do with them.
And what is it that I've seen you've shown me some of the imagery. What is it that makes it pop art? Why do you describe it as pop art?
Well, you know, sort of.
Is it because it follows that similar imagery of Roy Lichtenstein?
Yeah, well, I suppose so. Yes, and it was that pop art period in art as well, wasn't it? You know?
So they're kind of like comics, aren't they, in a sense?
Well, there's often writing. Like, most of your pieces have a visual image plus a little
bit of text.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about.
It's got something to do with it.
Yeah, and I suppose some of your works are quite humorous, aren't they? There's a serious edge, but there's a humorous sort of side to it as well.
That's right.
And the colours are very bright normally, and
the most serious one is to do with my statement about the way I feel about community gallery spaces and the lack of them in Ballarat. But because I draw in Illustrator, one of my majors was drawing when I was at art school, and I really enjoy drawing in Illustrator because it's infinite, the possibilities that you can do with a line. It's not stuck
indeed
where you put it.
Yeah.
And
isn't that interesting that you see that kind of a program application and the possibilities where Lynden and I were talking about Photoshop and stuff like that earlier on, and in some ways when I see those possibilities it kind of scares me because there is so much you can do, but you think, there's so much, the opportunities are endless.
Yes.
Yeah, like you're quite confident with the program and there's sort of anything you can do, I suppose, in that space.
Yes. Yeah. It's when you're trying to, with some of the backgrounds, like I had to draw the town hall and the base of Queen Victoria's statue. It's grueling sometimes. The town hall is such a complicated building to draw, you know?
Because you've picked out a lot of the detail in that image, like it's quite an accurate rendition of the town hall that you've done in that image, isn't it?
I wanted people to realise that this was Ballarat that I was talking about in that particular image, so I had to make it recognisable.
That image, what's that one about? Is that the one that's about the lack of gallery space in Ballarat?
Yes. So that's how I've sort of felt for, the last couple of years. It's sort of quite depressing, and you can end up turning off your creativity because you get so depressed about not being able to have access to spaces to show your work.
I'm a bit surprised you say that in some ways, Sparky, because I know immediately in my head are two spaces that I've heard about only recently, and they're both available for people to put works in.
I suppose one of the things about your works...
I'm not quite sure, in some sense, I'm not quite sure where you're coming from with that comment.
What spaces?
Well, there's one in Main Road behind a newish cafe called The Building, and it's a big space.
I've not heard of that.
Well, and what I was going to say was that your works are often quite big. So, aren't they? You do quite big poster size, don't you?
It's sort of better if they are, yes.
Yeah. So that
you might be really interested in that space, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So in Main Road, that
and
is.
And then the other one is the gatehouse at the cemetery they've got a little exhibition space upstairs.
Oh, right, okay.
But that I don't think your work would sit so well in there. But I think people
She's
are
going to
beginning
curate a show for you, I can see.
Yeah, I think people are beginning to add on to their business. Like Dawn just then, she has a little, or used to, little exhibition space in the corner of her Claymotion, which is
that still
once again not so appropriate for your bigger works.
No. I suppose maybe I sort of mean more large, flat walls that are lit properly.
Yeah.
You know, so...
I think with your style of work, like that kind of poster size, and it's very, I suppose, that real contemporary kind of look, I suppose it's going to look best in a particular kind of gallery space, isn't it?
Yeah.
If the truth be told.
And, you know, in terms of, like, the Backspace Gallery... you could have 3 more galleries of a similar size and fill them all year round.
Yeah, you could.
You know,
well,
with the amount of people wanting to exhibit.
I know that the demand for Backspace has been huge over the years, hasn't it? Like a lot of people making use of that exhibition space, as we should. And I think the program has been absolutely chockers, and it sounds like, it's going to be forever and ever, isn't it? Yeah. And did you hear Peter Freund just saying that space is actually much bigger now because they've
renovations,
with the new renovations. So that's great too. So hopefully we'll get the new curator Rebecca Joyce on the show soon to talk a little bit about when the next EOIs and things like that are coming out for Backspace.
She's lovely. She's going to come to the Ballarat Arts Alive soiree, Christmas soiree in November, and give a bit of a chat about Backspace there.
Yes.
As well.
So just before we move on from the soiree, that is soon, isn't it?
The Ballarat Arts Live AGM is tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow night.
At 6 o'clock.
Oh, but there's another soiree in
and
November.
And the soiree is straight after that for
so
Halloween.
it's still part of the same event, the same night.
I'm going to come back to your artwork in a minute because I want to keep talking about that. But yes, that's a good reminder that the AGM is tomorrow night at the Printers Room for BAA.
Free champagne and canapes on arrival.
What time is it, Sparky? Do you know?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6.
And also the CEO.
Yes. Justine Lindley and Tara are going to talk, and I was talking to Tara the other day, and they've got a heap of amazingly exciting things to tell everybody about what's happening with the city and new programs.
Great.
Ballarat's going to work with... Oh, no, I better not say.
No, you better not say.
People can come
to the AGM.
Don't get yourself into trouble, Peter. Well, you can if you want to. But, come to the AGM tomorrow night at the Printers Room there, just behind Sebastian's. It's a really gorgeous space. I love that.
It is.
That's a great spot for those BAA events. I love it.
Yes, and Kiri from the gallery's organised Brendan from the gallery, who's a DJ, to play afterwards. And
good.
He plays quite a wide range of stuff, which should be fun.
Excellent. Now, that's great. Well, that's tomorrow night. But we need to get back to your artwork because there's a lot we haven't discussed, and we've only got a few minutes. Now, I know that quite a few of these works that are going into the Ballarista Cafe, you're installing them this weekend with an opening on the 16th of November.
Yes.
Which you'll hopefully have some kind of event that we can share. But quite a few of the works are about the history of Ballarat with a humorous edge.
Yes, and so at the opening party for the Photo Biennale, I was talking to Anthony from the Eureka Centre.
Yes, Anthony Cam.
And he asked me if I'd be interested in maybe investigating drawing some pop art pictures to do with the Eureka sort of thing. And it got me thinking. So that one I was just showing you is a miner who doesn't get all the gold nuggets.
No, that'd
and
be
he's
me.
not very happy about that.
Yeah.
But then it got me thinking, because I've been part of the Historical Society for ages, and I've heard different people like Val D'Angri, who's the great-great-granddaughter of one of the ladies that sewed the flag. She's told me stories from her childhood. And so one of them is one of her stories from her childhood. And I thought, I can draw this in this sort of way and make it interesting for kids, like you're sort of bringing history into something that's sort of interesting for all kinds of people. So that one looks like it comes out of a little ladybird book.
Yeah.
And there's a story. I haven't quite finished it. That's a story of my mum's. She was a Lucas girl, Lucas lady, and they went on a tour of the Arch of Victory. And there's a door halfway up the outside, and you had to climb up the fireman's ladder to get in. So they were all in there, but then the firemen had to take the ladder and go to a fire emergency, and they were all stuck inside the Arch of
So
Victory.
this is back in what sort of era? Would this have been the 40s or something?
Somewhere
or?
between 1938 and 1942, I think. I'm not quite
How
sure.
extraordinary being stuck in the Arch of Victory.
So you've got all of these little oral histories, like these first-hand stories that you know, and you're bringing them to life with these posters.
And you can illustrate them in just one panel, and then people can talk about the story. Like the miner that doesn't get all the gold nuggets because he's sitting around with his top off, being all muscly and posing.
Yes.
Well, you know, that's
not
why.
putting in the work.
But so things like that.
And he's quite a handsome chap, isn't he? He's got the
he
six-pack and all.
Yeah, long red hair tied back. There must have been all kinds of body types in the mining days. Not everybody looked like a weedy, white, pale ABC actor from the 1970s, did they?
No, they didn't.
There must have been hunks, you know, people that were lazy and people that, that worked really hard.
Oh,
and
yeah,
muscly
for
guys
sure.
And
And I
weedy
suppose
guys.
one of the things we often forget is that a lot of those miners, they were very young people, very young men. Yeah, so in the prime of their life, weren't they? So you've got the story about your mum, who was a Lucas girl, which is really interesting in itself, getting caught in the Arch of Victory, and then you've got the lazy gold miner with the six-pack, very handsome, and all of the miners out the back who are celebrating that they've found gold. And what else? You've got one of Peter Lawler, I suppose.
Peter Lawler, when he woke up the morning after the Eureka Rebellion with his arm missing. So you can sort of, like, you can make it interesting and engaging, and kids will go, oh, what's that about? And then, like, they get told the story and then they remember it, so they learn a bit of history as well.
Well, you're exactly right. They would be a great teaching tool. Perhaps there's an opportunity for you to exhibit somewhere up at Sovereign Hill or somewhere like that, or the Gold Museum.
Yeah,
something like that, because they would be great teaching tools, and they're great sort of stories to tell, aren't they? They can sort of like spark off. Really interesting historical discussions. And so what else do you have in this exhibition?
So it was originally going to be a photographic exhibition that was going to be across the road up on the top floor of Eureka House during the Photo Biennale, but that didn't eventuate. So, and then I thought, I'll put it in Ballarista when Jockno asked me if I'd like to exhibit. And unfortunately, I had about 150 photos and there's not enough room for it. So that's another exhibition. So I've just got a small selection of some of the ones that I like that people might like to see.
Okay, and the works will be for sale, of course.
I suppose so.
Yeah. So this is Ballarista Cafe, just there near the corner, with an opening on the 16th.
Yeah.
Which will be a Friday, I suppose.
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, okay, at about 6 p.m. or something like that, and we'll let people know
6:30, I think.
about that. Well, I'm particularly drawn to your posters. I think they're quite funny, and I love the fact that you pick up all of these interesting little stories and turn them into something new.
Yes, now I know so many stories from Ballarat's history, and like the Great Fire. I thought there was one Great Fire of Main Road, but there were actually 6 from 1855 to 1862, where it burnt down, and Ballarat almost burnt down during one of them. But there's so many stories attached to that, and
That'd be
I could
great,
make
Sparky, a whole book of that type of art.
You could do a book, couldn't you?
Yeah.
It'd be fantastic.
It'd be terrific.
Yeah, because they're very funny. It's very funny imagery as well. Yeah, quite amusing
And
stuff.
I think it's a style of work that is very visually appealing. You know, I think it invites you to go and look at them.
Yeah, it's got a certain accessibility to it, I suppose. Like,
I'm seem to be becoming more and more finite every time I draw something, which is sort of not necessarily the best.
What do you mean by that, Sparky?
Well, the pop art ones that I did originally were really basic and just, like the woman slapping the man across the face going, "You idiot, there's more to life than sport, like art." But now, like, the stories, they're getting quite detailed, the backgrounds and everything.
Oh.
The one with Val D'Angri and Billy Butterfly it took a fair while too. Because I rang Val and spoke to her about what he was wearing and all that sort of thing,
right,
and what she looked like
To
and
actually
stuff,
get it
so I could do
accurate.
it. Yeah, because I wanted to respect Val's story. I didn't want to
true. There's,
make
well,
her into a
there would be
parody.
that whole element if you're working with stories from other people.
Yeah, so you've got to be careful.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we shall look forward to seeing that exhibition, Sparky. So you're installing that this weekend, so people will be able to view the work from
when it's open on Monday.
I suppose, during cafe opening hours.
Pop in and have a coffee.
Oh, indeed. Well, thank you very much for coming in this evening.
It's quite
appreciate it. And we'll hear more about that exhibition as it unfolds and the work. We'll watch the work with great interest, Sparky. Now, Lynden, I know that you've got some What's On, haven't
I've
you?
got some What's On. So first up really is just a reminder of what we just said, of the Ballarat Arts Alive annual general meeting tomorrow, Thursday the 31st of October at the Printers Room at 6 o'clock, followed by a soiree which involves a talk on information from Justine Lindley.
Yeah, CEO of the City of Ballarat.
Coordinator of Creative City Tara Pool, with all sorts of exciting information. So, and drinks and music after that. And so get yourself down to the Printers Room, which is behind Sebastian's and below Sebastian's.
In Mayor Street entry, yep.
Dress up if you like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Don't
Halloween.
forget Ballarat Frolic Festival between the 7th and the 14th. There's heaps of things. I reckon you just Google that.
Yeah, we've got Jay coming in next week to talk about that too.
Picking up from Sparky's posters and things is just a reminder that on the first Tuesday of the month there's going to be an historic talk at the Eureka Centre. Well, it's been happening for the last few months, but so the first Tuesday of the month will be next Tuesday. I can't remember what the theme of that is, but it's at 5:30.
Okay.
The plan is to bring history to life, sort of thing.
They've been very well attended. So just Google the Eureka Centre and those talks will come up. Yep.
Mika Boynton is coming in next week, hopefully, or maybe it is next week.
It is next week, yeah.
She's going to be having a new exhibition at Fairbanks up in Sturt Street, up the top there. Her images were really, really appreciated and valued during the Photo Biennale.
Oh, she's got another one on.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So this is still aerial landscape photography, but
it's beautiful.
From lots of different countries, Finland, Norway, as well as Australia. But yeah, extraordinary work. The Arts Hall in Learmonth is having a jazz bash on Saturday the 16th of November at 7:30. And the jazz group is the Maryborough Traditional Jazz Ensemble. That sounds fun, out at the Arts Hall. At
It does sound like fun.
And the last thing I wanted to mention, Pod, was Alessandra Garossi is getting together with Adam Simmons, and Adam hasn't played in Ballarat for a little while.
No.
For a concert at the Lost Ones on Wednesday the 6th of November, so it's next week.
That'd be next week, yes.
At 8 o'clock. And Alessandra Garossi came when Adam was organising the Festival of Slow Music, and she was one of the guests. She's Italian, extraordinary piano player. So Adam will be on blowy things, as I fondly call all his instruments, and she'll be on piano, I should imagine, next Wednesday. $30. Ticket Taylor. I've never heard that before. It's one word, tickettaylor.com. At the Lost Ones.
Fantastic. Lots to see, lots to do, lots to go to. Thank you very much, Lynden, for the What's On. Thank you very much, Peter Sparkman, for coming into the studio. That is all from the arts program this week. We will be back next Wednesday from 6 till 8 p.m. here at Voice FM on 99.9. Yeah, Voice FM. So thanks for joining us, and keep an eye out for our Facebook update later this evening. See you next week.